Guys, what's up? It's Brendan here in the One Percenter podcast studio. Got my man right here, Kevin.
What's good?
The hotel master. We're going to chop it up, talk about building wealth and being a badass.
Let's go.
Come on. What's your most badass skills?
My badass skills.
Yeah, like if you had to pick 3 things that you do better than anybody else, what would they be?
Creating a brand identity,
Okay.
digital sales, digital media, social marketing, and team building.
What's the story behind those 3? What are like, how did you get that experience? Like,
So
do you currently do those 3 things? Is that
yes,
currently what
and
you
they're not only so. Basically, those 3 things are what I've become kind of superhero at, right?
Yeah.
Really, really good skills, and so using those skills is what allowed us to create the company that we have now, that we're now scaling up. But that was after years and years of developing those skills for myself, and now we take those skills and bring them to other hoteliers. So,
And that's all done for hotels.
yeah, all in the hotel space, all in the independent hotel space.
Like Motel 6 or like the Hyatt or like the Four Seasons.
So,
You know, what's your niche? You know, is it luxury or is
no.
it like?
The dirtier, the better, right? So my first hotel was the crappiest motel you've ever seen. In fact, the neighborhood made a joke about how, it wasn't a joke, actually, it was serious. Their kids weren't allowed to walk down the street that our motel sat on.
Oh my God. How did you buy it? Did you get it by accident or did you know you were going to be the hotel man?
No, I had no idea I was going to be the hotel man.
Really?
I fell into it, which is, first, before I got into hotels, I was an attorney. Worked on Wall Street for 3 years.
Damn.
And I got to that after 9 years of working, studying to get into law school, going to law school for 3 years, and then working in the legal profession in New York for 3 years. And I did that because I didn't know any wealthy people. I didn't come up from a wealthy family. And I saw this guy on TV in the early 2000s. His name was Donald Trump. And
I was gonna say, who do you see? Donald Trump.
Donald
Come
Trump,
on.
right?
Was that your mentor?
From afar, right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't have access to this guy, but I just saw this guy on TV, and
Yeah, you were like, I want to be like that.
he went to Penn. He owned real estate and he owned hotels. So I was like, I got to get to New York. I got to do real estate. I got to be involved in commercial real estate.
Dude, that's fucking badass, bro.
So when I see something, right, this is my personality. When I see something or see someone that I, aspire to work up towards, someone that has a life that I don't have yet, I'm really good at focusing in on that, seeing what made them successful and just following their path.
That's an interesting observation.
Yeah.
I've always looked at Donald Trump, and I know real estate's big. Like,
Yeah.
I've been nerding out on real estate lately. I've been talking to everybody I talk to. I'm like, bro, you selling, but you ain't got no cash flow, dog?
That's right.
Why are you buying toys, bro?
That's right. Let that
'cause I
cash flow
realize
pay
that.
for the lifestyle.
Yeah, but honestly, after hearing that, it's the first time I ever clicked that Donald Trump owned hotels as well.
Absolutely. Well,
Do a lot of wealthy people own hotels?
Absolutely. And that's a secret that you don't know when you're an 18-year-old, right? But
Damn, this guy's good, man. All of a sudden, I like hotels now. Now I'm freaking interested.
Well, hotels are interesting, right? And especially now, Donald Trump put into the tax code in his presidency the accelerated depreciation, which is
fuck, bro.
Which, if you've been doing hotels the last several years, you can take advantage of that. Just one of the advantages of hotels for someone who's a high earner for taxes. A hotel, you have lots of personal property, right? You have lots of fixtures, furniture, and this is stuff that you can write off in year one.
Nice.
So it's a huge tax advantage right now for hotels, and we'll see what happens. It's supposed to be phased out over the next couple of years.
God.
Right, but so Trump was a master at branding. Trump was a master, and he still is, right? Like, I don't care what you think about the guy politically. That's a whole nother question.
But he even puts out Instagram reels sometimes.
100%. Yeah. But what you can't argue with is that he's a master at branding. I mean, just go back to, like, you remember back in 2016 how every single person he was competing against on the Republican stage, he branded them with a one word, right?
Exactly.
Little Marco or whatever it
Exactly.
was, you know?
Yeah.
And now he's doing it with Ron DeSantis and with Sleepy Joe, right? So
Sleepy Joe.
right? But he's branding
That's
people.
like everybody calls him
He's
that.
branding people
Yeah.
the way he wants to brand them. But he's a master at doing that. And so he was a master at doing that for his hotels. And what a lot of people don't realize is, yeah, he made his early money in developing hotels and development in the real estate side. But later on in his career, he was making his money on licensing his brand. So
was that in the hotel space too?
yeah, in hotel space and in residential and elsewhere. You know, he got beyond hotels. The Trump name,
Nice.
the way that he branded that became valuable, right?
Yeah,
so I
dude.
saw that when I was younger, and so I was like, okay, so I don't know any wealthy people, but I know that investing in real estate, going to Penn, getting to New York, and doing hotels and stuff is a way to be wealthy, to reach a lot of people, and be at that level. So I go to college, and then I start studying for law school, and my intention was I got to go to Penn. I got to go to law school there. I got to go to the business school Wharton there. So I worked my ass off for 3 years studying to get into Penn because I'm not the smartest guy, but I will outwork anybody. So I went to Penn. That got me to
fucking like this guy. God, I'm all fired up now, dude.
Let's go. So that got me to New York City. And I'm working there for 3 years with some of the smartest, most successful
Are you doing
people.
Wolf of Wall Street? Was like Jordan Belfort your mentor? Is it
no Jordan Belfort.
is it as real as they say it is? Like were you
100%.
selling stocks? Is that what you're doing?
No. So I was on the legal side. So I'm working for all of the investment bankers that are selling securities. So I was in largely in the real estate security space. So I was working, my clients are bankers at that time that were putting together pools of securities that they're then selling to private investors. And these are going to be wealthy investors like pension funds, et cetera.
Yeah.
And so we did that and it was a grind. We're talking, my average deal was probably $500 million. Right, I did over $15 billion in deals.
What kind of piece does that pay? Oh, Mr. Reardon.
I want to say
did that pay you commission, or how does that work? You
No.
Get paid by
For an
billable
attorney, you
hours?
just get paid by hour, right?
Yeah.
So for my level at the time, we were billing like $500-600 an hour, right? But now you'll probably pay $1,000-2,000 an hour for an experienced attorney in that.
So
space.
3 years on Wall Street, were you like exhausted? Because it
Exhausted,
looks like when I
yes.
see the movies, dude, I'm like, God, dude, that looks exhausting. You know what
So-
I'm saying? Like riding the subway, getting off 10 hours in the freaking
exhausting.
bullpen.
It's a grind for me. It was 6.5 hours a day,
bad.
and it's it's a grind. You know, a lot of extracurricular activities and all the things you could imagine, right?
Yeah.
Here's how I got into hotels was, I'm working 18 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I had a moment where I was on the phone with one of my clients, who's a wealthy man on Wall Street. We were doing a, multi-$100-million deal for him. And it's a Saturday morning. So I'm on the phone with him and I'm putting together the contracts, the documents. As a more junior attorney at the time, my responsibility was make sure everything is in line, put all the documents together, revise all the contracts, talk to the client, make sure that we're hitting all the deadlines, all the stuff that, my mentors don't have time to do. A lot of people think that when you're senior in law, the misconception is that you're out golfing and it's the junior people that are doing the work. But I'll tell you what, the senior people that I worked, they were working just as hard, probably harder than I was. So
damn, dude.
So that's how it worked, at least in the space that I was in. It was very intense, right? Because the area that I was in on Wall Street was born out of the great financial crisis in 2008, 2009.
So they were just working from a state of paranoia.
Yeah, I mean, the folks that I worked with in this industry, the industry got decimated in 2008, right? The companies like Countrywide and such, mortgage companies. See, what they would do is they would pool all their mortgages into large securities pools, and then they would sell that to private investors, right? So it's called securitization, Residential backed securities is what it's called. All right. And
Wow.
and so what happened in 2005 to 2008 is that there was no diligence into this. So, I mean, you've probably heard the stories of you'd have, people that were, frankly, there's stories about strippers, right, that had no verifiable income that were buying 2, 3, 4, 5 houses in 2005, 2006. Why?
Yeah.
Because no one at the banks and none of the lawyers were doing any diligence. And so people could just buy these things. They were throwing them into these large pools and then splicing them up and selling these off to investors.
This is a freaking lesson, dude.
So
You just-
I know we're getting
ever
a
since
little
I sat down
historical
here,
for you here.
It's like you took a saw and you like just like cut open my head and you're just pouring into my brain. Like, this is good, because I've always wanted to talk to somebody who worked on Wall Street,
Yeah.
because I've seen the only reference I have is Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dude, that place like looks pretty crazy. You know what I'm saying? But,
Yeah, and it is crazy, and it is crazy.
But it's good. It's good to hear.
A little less so now. There's a little more controls than now, but it was at its super crazy, at its craziest in 2006, 2007, before the crash, right?
the market was just freaking going nuts.
was crazy.
Everybody was buying houses.
Houses. They would talk about how the parking garage outside of Countrywide in New York City was like a imported car dealership, because
Really?
everyone had Lambos, Ferraris, just all lined
Damn.
up because they were making all that commission,
Nice.
right? But everyone could sell that stuff, and this is relevant to sales because you have all these
Exactly.
mortgage brokers. Everyone's making all this money, living this crazy lifestyle. But in 2008, the music stops, right? And it crashes. And a lot of people went from living the high life to completely broke.
What point did you leave Wall Street? Like,
Yeah.
was that before?
I
or
left
after?
6 years ago. Right. So I was.
Damn, man.
So
So
I
you
left
survived
6
the crash.
No. I was only in it. So I came in post crash.
Oh,
and
okay.
and so my team was responsible for picking up the pieces, and we put deals back together. And time I was there, getting things going back in the right direction. But so you asked me, where do you get these skills, right? That I have now that allows our company, our hotels, to outperform other hotels, and allows us to help other hotel owners create badass teams, badass brands, and outperform their competition.
Yeah.
And it's all from realizing these environments, right? It's about realizing these things and learning the lessons, and then developing the skills, and then being able to go out and deploy them. So all this stuff that I've learned, whether it's working on Wall Street or then thereafter going into hotels, or whether getting to Wall Street and seeing, the guy that was doing real estate in hotels, it was about observing someone that was ahead of me, learning the lessons as quickly as I could, and then putting it into practice to getting to where I want to go, right?
That seems fairly useful to a guy who's just starting a hotel.
That's right.
Seems like you could help that guy.
So let
pretty
me take you back to that first motel, right?
Yeah,
We were
I
talking
want to
about-
know. Yeah, I want to hear that. So you're talking
So
to
I'm talking to
your
a
client.
guy. I'm talking to a guy,
Yeah.
and he's at his pool in the Hamptons on a Saturday morning, and I'm burnout. And I remember just thinking to myself in that moment is that I'm on the wrong side of the wealth equation right now, right? Because I got to where I thought I needed to go, and I realized that there's actually a whole nother side to this, right? Because you were asking me how much did I earn as an attorney, and the reality is, you asked me if I made a commission. No, I didn't. I made an hourly wage, or made
billable
billable
hours.
wage, and you get paid a salary.
Exactly.
And I was thinking to myself, well, I'm a smart dude, and I got myself to here from nothing. But on the other side of this, the client I'm working for, I don't know if he's any more talented or any smarter than I am, but this dude is talking to me while he's sipping on a mojito by his pool in the Hamptons in
Exactly.
July, right? And so what is it that person is doing, and who is that person? Because I didn't know who these people were. I didn't know what private equity was. I didn't know what real estate developers did. And so I started learning more and more about real estate and different ways to get involved. And I'd always kind of done side hustle. Since 2005, I did Airbnb before Airbnb was a thing.
Did you own them?
Yeah,
Were you owning houses?
So we owned a half a dozen proproperties with my
Nice,
father.
dude. All in New York?
No, this is in New Jersey.
Wow.
And so you asked me how did I developed a skill of digital media, how to reach people online and convert them into customers, right? How do you find your audience? How do you convert them into guests staying at your property, whether it's an Airbnb or a hotel. You're trying to do the same thing. Find your audience, bring your guests in, make them paying guests.
Exactly.
I have been doing this as a side hustle since 2005, which a lot of people won't know.
Is Airbnb kind of like getting people to a hotel? Same kind of branding?
Airbnb,
Same thing?
Airbnb came in, I want to say it was like 2008, 2009. They started to blow up, several years later.
Yeah, I was going to say, dude, you're like an Airbnb pioneer.
So what happened is Airbnb created a marketplace for home rentals that didn't exist at the time. And so pre-2008, when you went online to look for a house to rent, whether it was for 1 night, 5 nights, a week, a month, there was a huge smattering of websites. There's all little websites owned by all independent operators. And you would go on and you would just post your house. It was kind of like, it was like Craigslist, right? You just go on, you would post your house, and then people would message you like, hey, is your house available for X days for X money?
Sounds like a pain in the ass.
It was a huge pain in the ass. You either did that or you went to your local realtor.
I just saw on somebody's story the other day, they were like talking about the owner of Airbnb, that he's a billionaire.
Yeah.
I was like, this guy's a motherfucking genius, dude.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as Netflix, same concept.
Airbnb is a great concept.
Everybody who takes something digital,
yeah,
those are the ballers, bro.
But they just created a marketplace.
Made it easy, solved a big problem.
They took a market that already existed, home rentals, and they brought it into the digital space and they added branding.
Exactly.
So that was the genius of what Airbnb did. Because the problem in the market was that you had all these owners and a very burdensome process to figure out. See, if you went to a hotel, you could just go to their website, you could book something instantly, and then when you show up, you're going to have a room. For a home rental, it was the Wild West, right? You had to go to the individual owner, ask that owner if their home was available, ask them how much they wanted. It was this back and forth, and it was very time consuming. So what the 100%. Airbnb guys did is they created a platform where you could go on, you could book it just like a hotel. You could know that something was available for tomorrow night and exactly what it was going to cost. And they provided some level of certainty and trust, which goes a long way. And they built a brand. They made it cool. They made it trustworthy.
Now everybody's like, bro, get the B&B.
That's right.
Who's getting the B&B?
Let's go. So
and every time someone says the name, it's like, bam.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? That's why we always wear Elliot, because every time somebody says Elliot, bam, that's another little point in the bucket, another drop in the bucket.
And what we coach our clients on when we're branding hotels or branding our own hotels is brand is where the magic is made, and it's where the incremental dollars, the big dollars that you can make in the hotel industry, that's where it's made, is on brand. Because when you have a brand that someone wants to pay for, they want to identify with that brand, they aspire to be at the level that you portray that brand.
Exactly.
Then they're going to pay for that, right? In the hotel industry, I talk about a hotel room. What is it? It's a commodity. It's a room at its most basic function. It's a room somewhere where you don't live, with a hotel, with a mattress in the room, at its most basic core. And so what is that? That's just shelter. At a slightly higher level, it's safety. You want to be sure that you're safe in that space. Beyond that, what is it? Well, beyond that, it's going to be brand. It's going to be the experience that you have when you go to that room and why you're going to that specific place instead of the place next door.
Exactly.
Right? So if we're just competing on, I want a room, then there's not much to compete on other than price, And this is where a lot of hoteliers, a lot of people in hospitality is where they get stuck, because they just look at their competitors and they just try to compete with the people on their playing field. And so oftentimes in the industry, it's on price. This room's $100, but this room's $98. Well, when you have outsized success and returns in hospitality and real estate, it's when, they're charging next door, they're charging $100, they're charging $98, but you say, F that, we're charging $200.
Nice.
Right?
I like that.
The question becomes how do you get double the person next door? Well, it's all on brand. It's all on experience. It's all on adding more value than anyone else. And it's by creating something that people are drawn to, that they want to identify as being a part of.
This guy is a motherfucking genius.
Let's go.
God, dude.
That's right.
That's sick, dude.
So that's the approach that we take. And that's from doing this myself for almost 20 years now. When I did this back in 2005, 2006, there was an Airbnb. And so the way that I sold my properties is I made a website and I marketed that website. At that time, the hot thing. See, what the young guns don't realize is that these digital platforms, they just evolve, and it's just patterns that repeat over time, right? So in 2005, 2006, it was Google Ads and websites. Like a lot of people, like you think about the 2000, 2001, I remember my neighbor, I would go over to their house. I specifically remember this because they had a computer in their basement in 2000, and they were doing this crazy thing called online shopping. But people were freaked out by online shopping. They're like, you're telling me you're going to go to this store's website and you're going to put a credit card in.
Isn't that so crazy to think about?
But that's crazy to think, but that was only 23 years ago.
That's fucking insane.
That's not that long
Now my
ago.
credit card's on 5,000 websites.
At least.
You know?
Right? And so we in the last 2 decades, we went from people being terrified to go online and buy anything.
Yeah.
Then a few years later, people are getting comfortable to buy things. And so I'm putting our properties online and I'm marketing them on Google, because Google was like the place to be. It's the search engine, and you could find whatever you wanted on Google, and the internet's getting faster. And so that's where we found our people in 2005. And then you fast forward to 2000, about 2013, 2014 is when I got into social media, is when paid ads started with Facebook.
Nice.
And so we created Instagram, Facebook, and again, our properties that I managed just as a side hustle while I was going to school, while I was working on Wall Street. My next intuition was, okay, we got to market on Facebook. And so back in 2013, 2014, you could spend a couple $100 on Facebook paid advertising. And for us, it generated tens of thousands of dollars on a couple
crazy.
hundred, right? And so here's the lesson that I didn't realize that I learned until later on, was that in marketing and in sales, you find these arbitrage opportunities that you spend a little bit of money or a little bit of time and you get massive outsized returns. But here's what happens, is you get the result and then you stop. And I did this multiple times in my career.
Why do you stop? Why do you stop
Because
when you're getting results?
Because you got what you thought you wanted.
You made some wins.
Right? Because you're playing small. Because I said, okay, I had 6 properties. I filled those properties. I'm charging the most in my market. I beat my budget. I beat my revenue expectations. Holy crap, this is amazing. I spent a few $100 on Facebook ads in 2014.
Yeah.
And we did, whatever, $500,000 in revenue
Exactly.
to our property. And I said, that's awesome. Cool. I
What's
figured that
next?
out. Now let me go off to the next thing.
Exactly.
Here's the mindset shift that I had that's allowed us to accelerate now, is that when you find something that works, is you don't just stop.
You double down.
You double down, you triple down, you quadruple down,
Yeah.
right? You find the bigger vehicle for what you're doing.
Exactly.
Because when you find the golden goose that lays the egg, you don't just say, wow, that's cool, and you move on. You fucking harness that shit.
You squeeze the freaking
You squeeze
lemon
the
for every
juices out
drop,
of it,
dude.
Because those opportunities go away.
Exactly.
Now
So
if I spend...
there's a window of opportunity.
There's a window. And once the market finds out about an opportunity, then it's only a matter of months
Everybody's going to be after
or
those
years,
eggs, bro.
and it goes away.
Yeah.
Right?
It's so true.
So that's what happens. And that's the understanding of, especially in the digital space, in life in general, in the digital space, in marketing and sales, is when you find an opportunity, when you find a technique that is working, then you identify it, you say, holy shit, and you double down on it, and you go harder into that instead of just moving to the next thing.
Exactly.
And that's what I find with a lot of high performers is in business in general, is like, the more you can get deeper into one area, one discipline, and you can know it better than everybody else, and you can see around the corner, you can find those arbitrage opportunities, and you can take advantage of them, right? Instead of just saying, wow, I got good at something, I had success, so now here's the other shiny object. So,
So
here's
true.
here's a here's e-commerce drop shipping,
Dude, so true.
from
It's the
2000.
it's the master of none versus a master of one.
Exactly.
And then you got people who make that bet and then they won't have the same risk tolerance they had before because now they have something to lose.
That's right.
So they won't go again for round 2. But it's like, bro, it works.
That's right.
And it'll work better the more you put into it,
The deeper you go, the more understanding you have, and the more you can see
Exactly.
and evolve and create within that space.
People, because it'll probably blow somebody's mind, to make 6 figures in a month in a hotel industry. So once they do it, they're like, okay, we're good now.
That's right.
Let's not freaking get all crazy.
Well, then
put even more money into the business. Let's just keep. This is what all businesses do.
Well, here's the exactly, especially small business, right?
Exactly.
Here was the beliefs that were spoken into me. After I did my first hotel, which is, hey Kevin, that was great. Wow, look at what you did. But you can't do another one. You know why? Because you can't trust people. You can't trust people. You can't. You have to be there 24/7. No one's going to treat the business like you do. And so you can't have other locations because.
How did you overcome that?
You have to get around the right people. I mean, you have to be willing to, one, identify the things that are being spoken into you and accept them and understand what they are. Two, you have to be able to.
That was a bomb right there. I wish I had a bomb right here. I'd pop that fucker. So what you said was accept. Know what to accept and what not to accept. You know what I mean? Like I heard Hormozy one time.
Yeah.
It sounds like you probably listen to him a lot. Yeah.
100%.
Dude, he's a beast. But I'm picking up what you're talking about. But dude, a lot of people just get stuck with that, bro.
It's a small business mentality.
Yeah.
And that is, what I was surrounded with for much of my life, and that's okay because I know what that is. I learned those lessons. But to reach to the next level, what I discovered is that you need to identify that those things that are being spoken into you. 1, 2, you need to get around people that are speaking what you want spoken into you. So, getting around coaches, mentors, and just making your circle people that support and push you forward and speak the things that you want to hear. And then the third is probably the hardest, which is you have to be willing to remove yourself from people that are speaking the things that you don't want spoken into you.
Yeah. Is that the hardest for people? That was like the easiest for me for some reason.
Oh, do you think so?
Dude, I don't know why, bro.
I guess
the hardest for me was finding the right people. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, for me, it's like, dude, I had no problem cutting out negative people. I did it like that.
Yeah.
Once I woke up, and Andy was my first mentor and still is. I have other people. I'm like, oh, this guy's cool. I can learn from this guy, but I still pay attention to him. As soon as he said cut negative people out, I was like, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like flip of a switch, dude. They were out.
No, that's great.
I didn't think about it.
You were lucky. You were lucky to have Andy Elliott in your life as a mentor relatively early on in your career. And if I had someone like Andy early in my career, I mean, who knows where I'd be today.
You were on Wall Street. They were all freaking getting all happy.
Yeah. So it's what makes it hard, I think, is that sometimes the people that you have to stop listening to are the people that you're closest with. So It could be a significant other.
So true, bro.
For a lot of people, it can be your close family.
Exactly.
Right. And I think that's why in this country, the vast majority, 98% of people, they're just like stuck in the middle. And I always wonder why is that? Why do people just settle for that? And
it's crazy, dude.
I think it's just because those things are just passed down, through your family, through the people that are closest to your family and your loved ones. And so when you just perpetuate the same cycles, people just live the same lives over.
People never think, what are my beliefs going to be? They just accept what's given to them, the mindset, the programming that they've gotten.
100%. And
so crazy, dude.
The then you can start to identify more.
And
and more.
you got yourself there the right way, right? Like you worked your ass off to go through school, and then you did a good job of listening to what wealthy people were doing. You paid attention to what wealthy, which is the same thing I do. Like being around Andy, getting to meet guys like you, I'm like, pour into me, dude. Let me hear that shit. Let me hear how to get wealthy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
So I've learned a lot.
Be around it, want to understand it.
Yeah, exactly. But when you're doing deals with these $200 million clients, you're like, I bet this guy knows some shit that could help me out. You know what I'm
100%.
saying? So like, that's the same thing I do, man. Like we have guys that we coach that own very successful businesses, but there's a little crack in the castle. So while I'm helping them with this little crack, they're educating me so much on accident.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, this guy's a legend, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But it's so great, dude.
100%.
But it's good that you were willing to do that too, because a lot of people are in the wealthy rooms. They're around wealthy people. They have opportunities. They're just not looking hard enough.
Exactly.
Their RAS, the reticular activating system, hasn't been programmed the right way. All it sees is flaws. It doesn't see opportunities. It sees reasons why they can't be successful. Right?
Yeah, and the point with what you just said there is like you can find mentors, and you don't have to. I mean, look, if you have the resources to be able to pay them to get close to them and to be alongside of them, great. But another way to do it is just go work for them, right? And that's an easy way when you're younger. If you have the opportunity to just go work for someone that you aspire to be, then just get in their orbit. But you could even just observe, like you said.
Just be observant.
Right? Just see how they speak, what they do.
Just ask questions.
Ask questions,
you know,
right?
Why is so-and-so poor? Why is so-and-so successful?
Right.
What's the difference, you know?
Right.
And for me, it was when I cracked open my first personal development book.
Yeah.
Like when I read my first personal,
What was that?
I was like, it was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Nice.
You ever read that book? Bro.
Yeah.
Everybody has a book they read that's like causes a freaking revelation.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I was like, oh my God, I've never had self-awareness. I've just been living life, playing sports, you know, doing what everybody else around me was doing. For the first time, I was like, God, man, this is crazy.
Yeah, and you're like, and you have that realization, like, shit, what have I been doing?
Dude, and I feel like a lot of people live till they're 50 years old and don't even have that.
Same person
that
they were
wake
in
up
20.
moment.
They never had the growth mindset. They never had the awareness. It's the same with you. Like I get obsessed with it. Like when I find something that speaks to me and shows me and it opens my mind up to something that shapes a belief that I've never had, then I laser focus. I'm like, shit,
exactly.
Like, that is fucking fire. And then I just wanna take that and run with it.
I tell Fabio all the time, I'm like, dude, there's certain things that just piss me off.
Yeah.
Like little things, like people who do the same shit over and over again.
Yeah.
Just these little things irritate me, so I won't tolerate it. And people who want to open a fucking Amazon store and do their sales job and have 5 other side hustles, I'm like, come on, dude. You can't become an expert at something if you're doing 10 things at once.
And
you know what I'm saying?
It frustrates the hell out of me that, just seeing, I'm sure you see the same crap, on social media, especially whatever it's like, especially the last 3 or 4 years, whatever it's been. Maybe it was because the boom in crypto and that crap.
Exactly.
But it's like, I see all these young guys that are just like going out, yachts, parties, bottle service, all this crap, cars, which half of it, 90% of it is probably not real anyway.
Exactly.
And then they're like, oh, I have 7 streams of income, and I'm doing drop shipping, I'm doing crypto, I'm day trading.
People take that image and then they go extreme with it.
Yeah.
Like that guy got successful, and once he got to making millions of dollars, he was like, oh, let me go buy into this business and buy into this business, all these successful businesses. And then people think like, oh, I can grow 7 of these from 0 to a couple $1 million all at once. And it's like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you got to have the freaking wisdom to understand it. Just master one thing.
If you can just focus, and it's just a lot of people just can't focus on one thing, get really good at it.
Yeah.
And it takes time, but see, when you do that, then you learn these lessons, and then further along the line how to capitalize on that. There's different ways to take advantage of what you've learned. But a lot of people then just scatter, just like chasing the next shiny thing. And
Dude, exactly.
I see it a ton on social media. Even in my space, there's a lot of people that want to get into independent hotels right now. And it's becoming like the next big thing off of Airbnb, because Airbnb is kind of stagnated, and so now people are like, well, I want to get into hotels.
Right.
And it's like, okay, like if this is what you want to do, you see yourself doing this for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and it's a passion of yours, okay, then like
let's do it.
That's one thing. But if like you're just using this like, oh, I'm gonna get into hotels because you think it's just like
blow
someone's
up.
convinced you it's this quick get rich quick thing, right? There's like, you're never going to be able to compete at the level that some of us compete at, right?
Exactly.
You got to be willing to stick with it. Like when I was only a few years in, I had people in my life that were like, you gave it a good run for a few years, and why don't you get out and do a new thing? No, I'm like, I'm sticking. I love this. I love this business. I love this industry. I love taking old motels and making them, beautiful luxury and boutique properties.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Curiosity question. So you're invested in hotels. You own some hotels, correct?
Yep.
Independent?
Yep.
Do you own real estate as well? Or are you all in
outside
on
of hotels?
Yeah.
No, I won't touch anything outside of hotels.
Did you sell all those Airbnbs you had?
Yes.
Nice, dude.
Before we bought our second one, we sold all of the
so you sold all your Airbnbs to go all in on your second hotel.
Yeah, I mean, I think that,
dude.
Again, it just goes to a conversation of like having scattered focus, right? Don't go into real estate, be like, okay, well, I'm gonna do an Airbnb, now I'm gonna do a hotel, now I'm gonna multifamily, everyone's buying industrial, like,
exactly, dude.
Find one thing that you're passionate about, that you have an into, right? And go deeper into that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because this is just my understanding at this moment. But is there a lot of advantages to owning hotels because there's a lot more inflation as well?
Yeah.
So it's like buy and hold. Like if you ever want to sell it, is there a big benefit there, a big upside when you go to sell it? Do they inflate like real estate? Like, real estate's been growing for the past couple of years like crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Since 2008, it's fucking insane.
A couple things, in commercial real estate, like in hotels, you have the opportunity to do something what's called forcing appreciation, right? So the way that commercial assets like hotels trade is that the value of the hotel is on the amount of net operating income that you generate on the property. So the higher the profits effectively you have on the property, the more you can sell the property for.
So even if you update it, but it makes the same income as when you bought it 2 years ago, it's still worth the same amount.
Yeah,
do updates like do people buy a hotel and then redo the floors or redo the bathrooms?
Yeah,
is that normal? Or
you're doing what's called, in real estate, a value add improvement. Right?
Exactly.
So that's very common in hotels. It's called a CapEx program. You come in, you buy a hotel, and you'll put money into the actual facilities, right? And we advise at Hotel Accelerator, we advise people on what to do and how to do this. So how to renovate your bathroom, how to you renovate the bedroom, put new flooring, whatever it may be. And some people do a little bit, some people do a lot.
Is there a main contractor that people use for that kind of stuff, or is it kind of scattered?
No, it's all over the place. So there's actually...
Not old Joe Schmo can do the hotel. Anybody can do a house floor. But,
you have to be very intentional. So like our clients, for our own hotels and our clients' hotels, we're very intentional about when you spend money and doing capital expenditures on your hotel, you want to be very intentional about why you're doing it. And so for us, we actually bring in an architect and a designer, and we actually work the capital expenditures into the branding plan, because our goal is to increase the value of the property, right? So you make more money when you sell it. Well, to do that, to get outsized returns and for the money that you put in, we want to get, a 2 or 3x maybe multiple of what we put in return. Yeah. And so when you go in and renovate, you want to make sure you're being intentional about how this does affect my brand, how does it affect the guest experience, how does it allow us to drive higher rates for our hotel.
That's all. That's what it's all about. Is that the main KPI? What's the nightly rate?
You got a whole dashboard of KPIs, right? But like the biggest things you're looking at is, 1, how much money are you making per night, your average daily rate. 2, how much are you occupied? Because you make a lot, but you're only occupied 2% of the year, then that's not much money.
Same as Airbnb. Right? It's like you got to find a price point that works, right?
Right. So you have 3 main things, the levers that you're pulling in a hotel. How much you're charging, how many people are staying with you, and what are your expenses to operate it. Like,
Yeah.
it can
What's
be
a
very
good what's a
basic.
good amount? Like 80% booked or 50% or 30%? What's the magic number?
You want to be, I like to be somewhere, if you're running a super high performing hotel, if you could be at like 90% occupancy,
90%, dude.
right? That would
Yeah.
be phenomenal. Some people will, well, why not 100? Well, if you're at 100, that means that you're probably too cheap because you're
Exactly.
full every night. So you don't want to be at 100, but you don't want to be at 0.
Exactly.
You want to be a little less than 100.
Yeah.
But it's very, the hotel business is event driven and seasonal, and so there's, revenue management is a whole field within the hotel industry itself, and how to optimize for that, right?
Love it.
But to go back to like how you're trying to build values is you're doing those value add programs and you're trading on a net operating income, and that's how you create wealth in hotel investing. Okay, so that's called forcing appreciation within your hotel. There's other ways to make money too, and there's just one example, right? But
Love it.
that's different than like if you just do residential house investments. You're really betting on like, okay, you do some value add, right? Where you maybe you buy a house, you do a new kitchen, you're flipping it, right? Flipping
Exactly.
is one strategy.
Yep.
Or you might be buying a house and you're holding it long term, and so you're just betting that appreciation within
Exactly.
the market dynamics are gonna raise the value
You're just
of the
hoping.
house.
You're like, hope the shit
Right.
goes up.
Right. But
Can
you're
you
very much
refinance
dependent
on a hotel?
Oh, 100%.
Really? Dude?
Yeah.
So if you buy one, you can just make it profitable for 5 to 10 years. You can pull money out on it.
Exactly. So
Like you can pull a you'd pull like a HELOC on a home.
yeah, you'll refinance it, and you'll pull out your excess proceeds.
Go buy another hotel.
Well, that's what a lot of hotel owners do, and hotels are also eligible for someone's buying their first, second hotel. The hotels are eligible for SBA loans, right? So you can get several $1,000,000 from that's backed by the federal government through the SBA, which helps younger hotel owners get into their first hotel. You're just paying a higher interest rate usually on those loans. But that's another way to kind of finance a hotel. Really popular right now in the hotel industry. What a lot of people are doing. This is what I did on my first hotel: seller financing.
Dude, I have a buddy, which I told Fabio about.
Yep.
To connect with you.
Yeah.
You probably heard of him. Dude, he just bought a big commercial property.
Yep.
Financing.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
dude.
it's not uncommon to be able to negotiate seller financing in hotels, and that is one of the best ways if you're wanting to own a hotel to get into the industry is to utilize seller financing, and that's because in the hotel space you have a lot of mom and pops that have 1, maybe 2 properties, and they've maybe owned it for 10, 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And they're a lot of the mom and pops are aging now in the population. They want to get out of the business, but they don't keep the cleanest records, financial records, right? Their properties might be a bit worn down, so they're harder to maybe sell on the market, or maybe they're just not thinking about it. They don't know how to like go about the sales process. So if you're young and hungry and you go out and you just approach some of these mom and pop hotels, you can talk directly to the owners and come up with a deal structure where you might be able to get into that hotel with very little money up front. It's actually how I did my very first hotel.
Love it.
And that's a great way to get in, because otherwise it's very difficult as a first-time owner to go
Dude,
through a bank or
absolutely. I was
elsewhere.
thinking that your Airbnb background, buying homes, probably helped. It probably got your credit right?
Yeah, you gotta get the credit right, and then you gotta just know how to run a hospitality business. And that's why like a lot of Airbnb hosts, they might scale up short-term rentals. They learn the hospitality business. Okay, do I like this? Because it's a hard business, really hard business.
Exactly.
Maybe second to only restaurants, right? So you get into the hotel business and you kind of learn the ropes, and then some people like to scale up into owning hotels, which is a cool strategy. And so it gives you, if you go from Airbnb to hotels, gives you a little bit of knowledge into kind of just the basics of running hospitality. So it's a good way to go. A lot of people doing it right now.
Well, dude, I could interview you for freaking 2
brother.
years, bro.
Appreciate you.
This guy's a plethora of knowledge, dude. Good Lord. Like, dude, you got a lot of knowledge, dude. That's good stuff.
Well, I appreciate the chat. We could probably go for a few hours if we wanted.
Exactly. We probably could. We're in flow state. You know, I'm learning from you, but it looks like y'all got to roll out.
Yeah,
but
we got to get on to the next thing.
Totally some cool shit, dude.
I appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely, dude.